For today's earrings, I'm using everything from the Emerging Spring collection, Eureka crystal beads and bronze pony beaded jewelry. Of course, you can use any color of beads that you want to, but I'm just using what I have. I have a lot actually from that collection still, so I am still working on that collection. When you buy from Eureka Crystal Beads, you buy the collection, you get a lot of stuff. I'm just going to show you what I'm using for these earrings today. A thread zapper. I don't know if that's the professional name of this little unit here, but I really like it. I don't remember what size this crystal is, so I'm just going to quickly figure that out. If I can get it to sit straight. So it's a 12 by 12 millimeter Swarovski crystal. So 2 of those. And these ones, like I said, they're in the Eureka Crystal Beads collection. 2 ear wires. You need 12 altogether for both earrings of the 2 millimeter Chinese crystal rondelles. 2 sets of 11/0 in any color you choose. These are also, again, from the collection. And then 15/0s. And a size 11 or 12 beading needle. I think this is a size 11. I don't know why I've been using size 11 lately, but it just seems to be the closest one to me. And 8-pound fryer line. You can use 6-pound fryer line too if you want to. And a stop bead. For the stop bead, all I use is my 15/0 seed beads. So I've threaded on 30 of my one color of 11/0s. And I'm going to go around once. So I'm just going to do a very simple bezel around this crystal. I'm just going to say crystal because for some reason the word Swarovski is a problem for me. Don't know why. And I do always go past my starting point by a few beads. Doesn't matter how many beads. 4, 5, 6, whatever you choose. There. So I'm going to take one of the same color. I'm going to skip the first bead, go to the next bead. Skip that bead, go to the next bead. And always hold them to try to keep them in place. Skip that bead, go to the next one. So just keep going around until you get back to your starting point. Okay, then when you get to the end, you go and skip this bead. We're going to skip this bead, we're going to go into this bead, and we're going to step up to this bead here. Okay, then I'm going to do another row. So I'm coming out of this bead here. Coming out of this bead, I'm going to go right into that bead. And this kind of starts the bezel moving into a bowl shape, because that's what you want. And I went through my, how many times does that happen, right? I went through my stop bead. find it a little more difficult to bezel with the round 11-0s. It just doesn't sit quite as nice when you're actually doing your rose. But on the actual crystal or stone or wherever you're bezeling, it still looks just as beautiful. I'm hoping I have enough of these colors to do my whole earring. I used a lot of this blue from the Emerging Spring collection. Used a lot. Like, that's all I have left of that, so I'm hoping that it does the whole earring. We'll see. Maybe not. I might have to improvise. Okay, now we're at the end. I'm going to skip. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to go into the next one, and I'm going to step up again. There we go. All right. Now that's the main part of the bezel for this little crystal. Doesn't that blue look really pretty around there? Now I'm going to get my 50-0s because I want to, as you can see on the back of this one, I did a couple of rows of the 50-0s there, and I did a couple of rows of the 50-0s here. I'm going to get those out. Now I'm going to add a 50-0, skip, and go to the next one. There. Okay. So you're going to add these 50-0s on just as if you're doing another row, just the same as you did the first 2 rows. So skip one, add one. Okay, so you skip, you're coming out of that bead, you skip that bead, you go into the next bead. Like that. Skip, you're coming out of this one, skip that one, go into this one. And it should be turning into a little bowl like this. See, like that. That's what you want. You want it to turn into a bowl. I am butterfingers this morning, like today. Oh, it's just been one of those days. I'm getting into my studio so late. My video is coming out late. There's just so much happening right now. The busy time of year for the other business that I work for. It's a really busy time for our gravel business. Summertime can be very, very busy. Like busy to the point where like D is on his phone. He started on his phone, I think 5:36 this morning. And he's been running around, running in and out. I've been doing quotes. I do safety as well, so I've been busy with that because new hires and all that kind of wonderful stuff. And he came in for lunch, he was still on his phone. When he left to go back to work, he was still on his phone. Last night, 10:30, 11, he was still on his phone. Businessman is never off his phone. But then in the wintertime, we don't do a lot. Like, we're not very busy, so I get caught up on all my safety stuff, any paperwork that needs to be done, year end, T4s, T5s. Oh, yeah. It's my busy time. Okay, I'm coming up to the end of the third row, I guess. So I'm going to skip this bead, This bead I'm coming out of, skip this one, go into this one. Okay. Now I'm going to step up and go into that very first 15-0 I put on this row, and we're ready to do the next. So it does fit in the back pretty good, so you don't really need to hold the bead in there at this point. And I'm going to do one more row, and I'm just going to add the last row of 15-0s. And this is just going to help cinch the stone in from the top, from the front. And then I'll just cinch it in from the back after. And this bezel, this type of bezel, it takes no time at all. It's very simple. This is pretty much what I use for every thing I do bezel, is usually this one, and then I can, you know, elaborate and add and just decorate as I want to. Once the stone is captured, then you're pretty much free to do whatever you want afterwards. You can add whatever you want. Okay, so your stone will sit like that. Your crystal will sit like that. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that for now. I am going to reinforce this, but I'll do it afterwards. I'm going to head to the back. Now I'm sitting at the back. And this is where I'm going to hold my bead in there. This is a bead I'm coming out of. It's sitting back a bit. This is the bead I want to be in to start my back, closing up the back. Try to keep that. Now I'm kind of working backwards towards me, which is not what I usually do, but okay. So now I'm going to add my 15-0s to the back. Same thing as what you did in the front. So you're coming out of this bead, you skip that back bead, you go into the next bead. And then just pull tight as I'm working, because you want to pull that in tight to your piece. It's still quite loose, so that's, you know, fine. See, like it can still fall out of there, so it's going to take a few rows to really close this up and tighten it up around the crystal. Okay, I'm coming up to the end of the first row. So I'm coming out of this bead, skip this bead, go into this bead here, and then do your step up. I'm going to step up, going through the first 15-0. Okay, and I'm going to go around again, and I will meet you back here when I'm finished this row. Finish this row. Now I'm just going through it a couple of times. So I'm just going through both the 15-0s. I really like to go around a few times just to tighten everything up, to reinforce. It just really tightens and snugs everything up, which is what I like. I don't want the stone, I don't want the crystal to move around too much, right? And then I'm going to go back to the front, and I'm going to reinforce the front as well. So that's a little bit more snug. Okay, now I'm back in the front. I'm going to reinforce the front as well, just to tighten that up. And pulling it to, like pulling it towards the inside, towards the crystal, helps to tighten it up as well as you're threading around. So that's about all the reinforcing I'm going to do, because it started to get a little tough to get through these 15-0s, so it's pretty tight. Okay, and then I'm just going to, there it is there, in the back. Okay, I'm going to tie off. And I'm taking off my stop bead. I think I was out of frame there for my zapping off, but there is the bezel ready for the rest of the earring. Okay, I've put on another 3 feet of thread, approximately 2.5 to 3 feet of thread with a stop bead at the end. And now we're going to do the top part of the earring. So I'm gonna put on my needle 4 of the other color 11 O's. I'm gonna bring it right down to the stop bead. And then bring it back up every bead. So it looks like that. And then bring it through one bead. And pull it into a little square. Now I'm going to take the other color bead that I first started with. I'm going to pull it through. So this is the bead I'm coming out of. I'm going to put it in through the next 11 O. I'm going to take that same color and coming out of this bead, put it into that bead. Do the same thing. And then put it through the last and final bead. And your little square should look something like that. And this is what they call the Pondo stitch. And I really, really like this stitch because you can get so much done so fast. You want to do a little, like a little necklace for one of your pendants. You want to do a bracelet. You can do so much with this little stitch. Okay. So now I was coming out of this one. I went through this next little light blue bead, and now I'm going to go through this bead. So you're coming out of the sheer blue bead. Now I'm going to put on 4 more of the regular blue. And I'm coming out this way with my thread. I'm going to go back in the opposite direction and back through that bead. I'm adding on my second little square. So I'm going to turn my work over and then go through the first light blue bead like that. I'm going to add a dark blue bead. Go through the next light blue bead. Continue that around. Go through the last. Pick up a dark blue bead wherever I put it now. Pick up a dark blue bead, go through the last light blue bead. And you should have 2 little squares done, hooked together. Okay, now I want to continue doing double squares until I have 8 done. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to bypass this dark blue bead, and I'm going to go through the next light blue bead. And I'm going to go through the dark blue bead on the top and start my next 2 square sequence. So pick up 4 light blue beads, or whatever color you've chosen for the inside of the little square. I'm coming out of this dark blue bead on this side. I'm going to come around and go back through him to the back. Like that. Okay, I'm going to turn my work over because I always work from the right. Go through the first light blue bead on the empty square. Add a dark blue bead and thread your needle through the next light blue bead. And then do that again all the way around. Till you finish that little square. Like that. I want to add another square on this side, so I'm going to have to take my thread and go all the way around till I get to this dark blue bead on this side. So I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to skip the dark blue beads. I'm just going to go through the inside light blue beads just to get my needle and my thread around the other side. And one more light blue bead. Oops, that wasn't very nice of me. Okay, now I'm back around to this side again. So this is where I want to put the last little square, like right here. So I'm going to go through this dark blue bead because that's where I want to add my next 4 light blues. Okay, and that's where it should be. So I'm going to add on 4 light blue beads. I'm coming out this side of the dark blue bead. I'm going to come around and go down through the back and through that bead again to form my next little square. Okay, now I'm going to go through this next blue bead, light blue bead. Now as you can see, I've already got a dark blue bead here, which this one, which is what I need to go through to finish this side of this little square. Okay. So you go through it like that. Okay, then you go through the next light blue bead. Then you add a dark blue bead. Go through the next light blue bead. and then add a dark blue bead and go through the next light blue bead. And now you have 4 little squares done. And then to start the next one, I'm going to bypass, because you want to get, this is where your needle's coming out of, right there. You want to bring your thread around and be on top here, because this is where I want to do my next 2, right here. So I'm going to bypass this dark blue bead and go through the next light blue bead. Go through the next light blue bead, miss that dark blue bead, go through the next light blue bead, and that'll bring you up to this dark bead. Go through that dark bead, and you're ready to add your next square. And that is the Pondo stitch. So I did 8 of these squares, so 2, 4, and then 6 and 8. So do 4 more like that, just like I showed you, and then just meet me back here. Okay, let's get our thread up to this blue one here. Okay, this one. Okay, now we're going to add our rondelles, Chinese crystal rondelles, and you're just going to put it in between those blue ones, the dark blue ones. Don't pull it too tight, just loosely like that. Okay, now we're going to add 2 of the dark blue and go through the next dark blue, 11-0. So it looks like that. Now we're going to do the earring bail. We're going to put 8 of the dark blue 11-0s on there. So you have 8. And I always double check, make sure I actually have 8 and not more or less. Okay, and then we're going to go through the next dark blue 11-0 on the other side. So it looks like that. Then add your 2 11-0s, dark blue, the same color, and go through the next dark blue 11-0. Okay, now we add the last 3 Chinese crystal rondelles in there. So now that's what your piece should look like. Go through the next 11-0 light blue and the next dark blue 11-0 so that you're sitting like that. So I'm going to gauge where I want this to sit, and that's where it's going to sit right there. So that's through this bead. So I'm going to go through that bead and pull it through. Then I'm going to go through this next bead. So there's 3 beads here. If you can see that, there's 3 beads. 3 beads here. So I've gone through this one. I'm going to go through the next bead next to that. And then I'm going to go through the next bead to that. Am I right? Let me see if I'm right here. Yes. And then this bead here, which makes 3, which is my middle 3, which is what I want. Okay, now that's how it's going to sit. Now I'm going to go back through this bead, this dark 11-0. Go back through that one. I'm going to add one dark 11-0 and go through the first one. I'm going to add one dark 11-0 and go back through the first one next to that, this one here. I'm really bad at explaining what I'm doing, I'm sorry. Okay. Now I'm going to go back through those same 3 beads I went through the first time, just to reinforce. So this one, so this one and this one. I'm just going to go through the 2 of them for now. And I picked up my earring wire. Don't pull too tight because you want it to sit evenly. And then go through the last of the 3 that you went through. And there it is there. Basically what you want to do is just gauge, you know, where it's going to sit in the middle of this stone. And that looks pretty good. All right, now that I've done that, I've gone through that twice. I'm going to go back up through these beads here, taking care not to pull it really, really tight, because if you pull it too tight, it's actually going to bend in. You don't want to do that. All right, and then I'm going to go through all of these beads here. The 11-0, dark 11-0, the rondelle, the next one, all the way up the side. Sometimes you can get them all, and sometimes you can't. So just make your way up like that. Just make your way up like this. If you have to go through one at a time, then go through one at a time. Sometimes I can at least get 2. No, it doesn't want to be nice to me today. Okay. Then go through those 2 dark rondelles right on the top corner. And then add a 15-0, a bronze 15-0, whatever you want to add. I'm using the same 15-0 seed bead that I used to finish in front of the stone there. And I'm going to go through the next 11-0 dark seed bead. Then add one more 15-0. Take that 15-0 and miss the very top 15-0, the dark 15-0 on this little square here. Miss that one and go to the next one through the earring bail. Okay, and then go all the way around that bail to reinforce. Go back down here to reinforce and come out the other side. And then again, add your 15-0 embellishment bead, I guess you'd call it, through there. And then one more. Okay. And then you can add, you know, you can go all the way around, you can go all the way around however many times you want to, or you feel the need to strengthen your piece. It's a pair of earrings, so it shouldn't be really bad. I'm just going to go down one more time just to finish it off. Strengthen this side up. And again, taking care not to pull it super tight. Okay, All right, I'm gonna tie off right about here. All right, I'm gonna add my earring wire to that. And there you have a very pretty set of earrings. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick tutorial of the Pondo Stitch beaded earrings. Very easy, anybody can do them. They look so pretty on. I just love these. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Also check in the description box below for the details to enter my monthly giveaway. I will be announcing that next week. So definitely go down there, have a check, go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and subscribe to my channel, and you are entered into the monthly draw. I hope you guys have a great day, and I would love to see you back here for my next video. Have a good one, guys. Bye.